Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Gaming with Scott. We have questions, and there are answers, and we need answers. Darn it. You listened to the Halloween game. We know you did. We know you did.
We know you did.
I'm here with Jay.
How you doing?
I'm here with John Garlic.
Howdy, howdy.
I'm here with John Kennedy.
I can't even think of something unique to say. Hello.
Yeah. I'm here with Sankowski.
We're just going down.
What's
That's what
up,
the problem
Sarge?
is. We're going down.
What's up? All right, so there were questions. Because what really fomented this quick stop-start was the blam, the dog is dead. Oh, it's sweet?
So here it is. In discussing these podcasts with a friend of mine, he had many questions, which I attempted to answer.
Yes.
One of his questions was, you're playing Sankowski, and you get the blood, and you're giving responses that make everybody go, huh? How much direction did you get from Scott on the fly, and how much did you know going into it?
So I had played the adventure before.
Okay.
Which meant that I knew all the beats. I knew where all the main stuff was. I knew that we were going down, not up.
Sure.
I knew that there were going to be two dogs. I knew that...
the dogs were creepy. They were
Yeah.
I knew who the final boss was.
Okay.
So knowing that, just when I said it just kind of offhand, and I said, hey, Scott, just before the game, like, what if I just, because we knew... In the previous game, it had happened accidentally where the person Shirley, she was playing the little girl, accidentally took control of my mind and made me start seeing things like she did. So it was sort of like, no, her eyes are fine. That dog looks completely normal. Okay, you guys are acting really weird. I know what your problem is. So I knew where all the weird traitor stuff should be.
Yep.
No, don't turn his ears down. Turn his ears up. No, sorry, just some technical stuff. But no, it just came down to...
you were way off. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, and it just came down to just made the suggestion. He's like, you know what, just roll with it. And so I would occasionally have to hand him like paper notes to be like, what do I do here?
So going into it, you knew that you would be turning against the group in some way.
Yeah, because this way, if it was more planned, then that way we could instead of Scott always saying, you feel like you're going down and not up.
Right.
That way it could be more like, yeah, no, we're leaving here, right? So we got to go down.
Right.
And that way, it was just more natural.
Well, they're listening to it again. There was some really cool points where it would almost be like impossible to just do on the fly, like miscounting the bullets or mentioning that saying that we're heading down instead of up. Oh yeah, we need to keep going. We need to go up, and it's like we are going up. Okay, that kind of thing. Knowing the guy's name, like. Did you just throw out a name and you went with it, or was that the guy's name?
Yeah.
Yeah, he threw out a name, and I went with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that Scott would do that. I was sort of like, oh, his name was his name's David.
Mueller.
Mueller.
What's the guy's name?
And we're like, wait, how'd you know his name? You're like, we're like, Una. What's his name? Mueller. It's like, okay, something weird's going on.
Jade was very good at improvising along with that.
Which was going to be, I wish Jade was here because it was going to be almost the exact same questions for her. Like how much,
right?
Like, did you talk to her like for an hour beforehand, like the day before, and tell her what was going on?
So everybody got a backstory, which I will also go ahead and put up on the website with this. I'll put the backstories. You guys all got the military backstory,
right? Mm-hmm.
She got the backstory right up of how she had always been in this facility.
Right.
So she got her father's backstory and her sister's relationship and a couple of the names of people that were working there.
Okay.
And she improv'd a bunch of it, too.
Okay.
Which was really nice. And I said, you're not crazy, but you've always lived here.
But Rico kept calling her crazy the entire time, which was awesome.
The entire time. It was phenomenal.
So judgy. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, very much so.
You guys were the judgiest, to be clear. You were just the most judgiest group. I don't know why. I mean, in your perspectives of beauty, especially like towards the end there.
Yeah,
I'm just sad I didn't act faster.
Wait,
sort of like
Sankowski, is that you?
It was terrible.
You're across the table.
We were so very judgy towards crustacean Americans.
Yeah.
Well, we determined they were mollusk
or people who don't
Americans.
have skin.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Which, by the way, my favorite part was just the fact that I look over at Jade's daughter's looking on almost in horror as I'm describing when Stankowski loses his skin. And I'm like, no, sweetie, it's okay. Everything's fine. And she's just like, what the?
Because it was very funny because Jade was like, well, I'll have my daughter. And I'm like, is she going to be okay? Oh, yeah, she'll be fine and she'll be very well behaved. And she was extremely well behaved.
Yes, she was.
Yeah.
Only there were a couple of times when I saw her almost recoil in horror. And I was like, are you sure this is going to be okay for her?
To be honest, a few times we almost recoiled in horror.
Right?
Yeah.
I write horror fiction, so I know how to describe, if someone bursting out of their skin.
Yeah, exactly. Which I knew. He went through. We played this 4 or 5 years ago, and it went with a different group. He was in it. Jackson was in it. A couple of other folks who haven't been on the podcast have been in it. That went through it. He was like, I'm cool with it, and Jackson couldn't make it. So it was like, oh, okay, well, it's going to be relatively new. He knew where all the beats were and had seen the resolution previously when they all got they never made it out.
No,
And it went
Yeah, well,
horribly bad.
amazingly, that tower never tumbled.
Yeah.
That was
What's-
almost sort of like I almost felt like, well, we never really got the like there was it was teased a lot that we were going to like really take it in the teeth.
Yeah.
And then
And
we
well,
never
but the tower
did.
kept moving.
Well, the
Yeah.
thing is, listening to it in episode 2, near the end, someone's like, "Well, this tower's going to fall any second now," and then like the third episode is like an hour and a half long or something.
2 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
2 hours long, and never tumbled that entire time, and people are just pulling and pulling and pulling.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was downright rickety.
Yeah.
Well, because admittedly, nobody suicided their character,
Yeah.
because that's something you can do in Dread, is you can just knock over the tower and be like, all right, I want to make the qualifier of we escape from the monster. What happens to me?
How do I die? Yeah.
Full of rickets.
Yes, full of rickets.
See,
Well,
I didn't know that was an option.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
had
didn't
no idea.
realize that
Ah.
either.
In
I
the
just thought we pulled, and if it fell,
It
you
fell.
made something bad.
If
happen.
it falls, something dramatically bad happens.
Right.
If you force it to fall on purpose and not just, oh, I meant to knock it over. It's got to be literally knock over. Something super horrible is going to happen to your character.
Sure.
But you can make a qualifier that's like, we find the key to open the door. Or, but
Sure.
we find the creature's weakness.
Or
but
we
that
figure
means,
out where the hell those tire tracks came from.
Right. Exactly.
I had no idea about that.
Ride
Yeah.
the tire, the
Jeep.
vehicle out of the building through a portal.
Right.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking either like a big stone like door had fallen and we couldn't get it open because we didn't know how to unlock it, or I was thinking maybe this room used to be a portal or something.
There,
Yeah.
there must have been just some time space portal.
Well, you
thing.
also said this happened a couple of years ago. Like you ran that same scenario a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. So were there tire tracks there? Was there a vehicle guy, or was it completely different?
There was a vehicle guy,
And
they never figured out how the tire tracks came in and stopped, and the same thing. I don't have anything for the tire tracks.
We
I need to
got-
write something in. I don't know.
We got hung
So,
up on.
you would just have to make up some crap if we kept at it.
Right.
What
Well,
you
and
should
what I
do-
want to do is
we-
make this into a module and sell it.
Well, what I would do,
I think it would work.
what I would do
Maybe.
is in a later part of in a deeper level, put a Jeep that's like fused into the wall,
Oh yeah,
and
there
that
you
will
go.
just
That'll solve all the world's ills.
Well, I mean, it'll raise more questions, but I mean,
Sure.
if it's just like sticking out of the ceiling, you'll be like, well, that's what made the tire tracks. It went through some walls, and there it is now. Maybe even have like somebody's feet or like arm like
Part of
sticking out of
them,
it.
yeah.
That would be and have it be a freak out moment.
Right.
We had, like, last time we played the adventure, we got stuck up on the dogs for much longer. And the dogs were admittedly a little bit meaner. Like, we managed to just, like, rope-a-dope these dogs and take them out, which is good planning. But in the other one, it was, oh, God, those are mutant doggies, except for my character, who's like,
and
those
they
are normal
began to
doggies.
hunt people in the party. And of course, the party went, and all like split up between these cubes. It was like, it was terrible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because my character had been like, just mind boggled or whatever it was. I'm just sort of like, that's a Great Dane. What is wrong with you guys? Why are you drawing guns on a Great Dane? And so,
Well,
like,
don't
a
shoot
Great
the
Dane,
dog, like,
a Great Dane will get you. I
Right,
mean,
right.
It's not like nobody's ever been mauled by guard dogs of the
Yeah.
of like a secured World War II German facility.
Yeah, but I petted one, and I remember it being described as like, like
little
skin
smushy.
and goos coming off of my hand, and I'm like, oh, it's furry. Oh, it's just a furry dog. It's a
Right.
happy little dog.
So fluffy.
But it also led to my demise at the end, because at the end, I'm trying to break free from her control, but then it's sort of like, but John, you feel compelled to just walk up to the squid monster. Okay, hi.
Give it a kiss, a little bit of tongue.
Yeah.
Because I'm literally like, oh, this room's empty. What are you guys talking about? It's not so bad. Up, it's got me in its tentacles. Up, now I realize the madness has lifted from my eyes. Up, my bones are being crushed.
Yeah, it was really just wanting to talk about how well, like, Jade and you just kind of rolled with it and made it work. And it seemed like you guys had extensively pre-planned everything.
Nope.
Because
You
that's how
should-
smooth it appeared.
So
It did.
Wall
It
Jeep.
was really good.
Wall Jeep. You could start it off
Are you
with
still on the wall, Jeep?
no. Like you could set it up for one of those times we climbed the stairs where it was clear. Just start off with this floodlight coming in that's actually the headlight of the Jeep, and that'll give them something. Well, I'm going to shoot at it or whatever. That it'll give them something to freak out about as a suspense thing. I'm just plugging in.
No,
Sorry.
I'm thinking. I've got an idea, and I'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But no, let's go back to that.
Go back to
Those Jade and John.
Yeah.
No, so she had her background that she had been there in the facility.
Right.
She didn't know about her eyes.
Okay.
That was not part of her. She's perfectly normal.
Well,
Well,
she thinks she is.
She thinks she is. She thinks she's perfectly, and so she was like, "Wait, why, my what?" I mean, so she's got a little bit of hold on, wait, no, I look in a mirror. No, you're fine. What? So she did not know. I left certain things out of hers the same way I left certain things out of yours, and each of you came to the table together. She was speaking German,
Right.
and you heard her as English,
Right.
and she heard you as German. And we're all just like, oh, you Americans are really good at your German. That's how that worked there. And there were many, there were a handful, 5 or 6 different, wait, what? No, okay, wait, what? That moments between the two of you as her with the group, kind of, okay, well, we can't just leave her. We need to take her out. She's not the enemy, but she's not exactly and then Rico was all like, yeah, she's crazy.
So, I mean, obviously she was a player at the table, so it's not like we would say, stay here. But what would have happened if everybody was like, well, go to your room, or you stay here, or get away from us?
Or shoot her in the face,
Or
which
shoot
is
her
what
in
some
the
groups
not
do.
shoot her in the face.
Some groups would.
Nah.
I've seen it.
No, I don't know with another player, but I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Well, if she was like a pure NPC, oh yeah, yeah, she would have been shot in
Oh,
the
yeah.
face.
If it was well, this little girl wanders up to you, we kill her. We
When
kill
she
her.
wanders up with her eyes sewn shut. I am a psychic crazy woman.
See,
Bam.
that's why I was also very careful to be like, no, she's like my kid sister. We can't do that
Yeah.
to her. Even before
Right.
the zombie, the dog blood.
Yeah,
Right.
Which
Right.
I wanted, I didn't want to be like, oh, it tastes gross because blood tastes gross. I wanted it to seem weird and out of the worldly and be like, it's sweet. Like Kool-Aid sweet.
It's like
Right.
they're made out of raspberry jam.
yeah.
So
That was the hardest part. Was literally, how do I get blood in my mouth in a natural way?
Well, that was the other thing. Like you knew you had to get the blood in your mouth to start acting, or have some sort of catalyst to start acting.
I thought he
more
was going to
weird.
play it straight the whole time. I thought he was actually going to try to okay, well, last time I got mind control, though, I'm not doing that again. And I thought he was going to try to straight arm the whole thing. And then I heard, oh, it's sweet. And I was like, oh, God, I know where he's going. And then I went,
Oh, so he didn't say I'm going to be like the weirdo traitor or
No,
whatever.
I just said that I knew where we could get there, but I didn't actually say for sure how I would do it. And then I was going to be like, I'm a secret cultist working for this dark god, and when you're not looking, I'll sacrifice John's character. Because it's just more of a no. Let's see where this goes and let's make this work. And then
and then
also when
somebody
you
shot the dog right, blur, and it went all over the walls. And it was like, oh, that's gory, and it's visceral.
On your face.
And the next thing I hear is, oh, sweet. And I went, oh, Jesus God. Okay. I know where that's going. And it was new. It was
Sure.
new to me. I had no idea.
Okay.
it was also
Very well done. Bravo.
It was also more along the lines of I wanted to keep it creepy, but not creepy in a horror sort of Sankowski, what's going on? We worship the abyss and we dance in its shadow. okay, let's shoot Senkowski. Let's get him out of here.
Right.
Scott had to punch his ticket.
Well,
Yeah.
you had to slowly introduce the questions.
Yeah, like
And you did. Oh boy, did you?
yeah, because we're going down, right?
Yeah, sure.
We're
Why not?
going up. No, yeah, because we're going down, right?
Yeah. Just that and like
Two bullets,
Mueller and the
one
2
bullet.
bullets versus
Wait,
1 bullet.
how many
Okay,
bullets did you
that
have?
actually was the one that confused me because even I'm like, no, I fired 1 bullet, right? Or where'd the extra bullet go?
So that was possibly just a mess up.
I remember finding
but it
additional.
worked out great.
I
was
remember
awesome.
finding an additional gun, and I remember saying I stripped a bullet out, but I don't remember. That's where it gets hazy for me as the player because now I don't know if I just screwed up in counting or if like that was Scott actually messing up.
Either way, it worked out awesome.
Yeah,
Because by the way-
I knew he claimed 1 extra bullet that was not there, and I knew it was not there. And he was like, "Well, there was 2 bullets." No, wait, no, it was 1 bullet. And it was like, "Are you holding out on this? Are you holding a bullet? What do you? What? No, give me the bullet. Give me the guns. Just, you
Yeah.
know what? I don't even want to. Well, no, there were extra. Can I have the extra bullets? No, give me the extra bullet. What extra bullets? So I only have 1.
By the way, the
Frisk him. Does he have bullets?
the knife block thing.
Yeah, I was
didn't
just going to bring that up.
Because I was trying to think of like, oh, well, if I start, because he handed me a note that said you get the urge to shed your skin using razors, and I'm like, but if I start cutting off my skin, they're gonna know it's up. And then I'm like, wait, what if I cut off my skin but it's not visible? So then that's when I'm just sort of like, okay, what am I carrying in my inventory? A knife block, a bunch of shaving razors, and oh, they're gonna take the shaving razors. Where can I hide the knives in my skin where they wouldn't find them? Then I get
So
the
you
image
didn't know
of-
he was going to hide the knives.
No, I had no idea.
No, because I had to hide the knives somewhere. Because once you guys started taking away Sankowski's equipment, how would I cut off my skin if you take away my razor blade? You guys are
Right.
just so insensitive.
Yeah.
Brody.
I know.
Unlike these Gillette razors, which are very sensitive to the skin, especially when you shave it off.
Yeah, and it was like scratch, scratch, scratch. He's gonna cut himself. Take away all the visible knives. Cough, cough.
Whoops.
And the empty knife block. Why is that knife block empty? Didn't
I don't
Rick do knives
remember
in it?
someone saying an empty knife.
Oh, when you
block.
guys looked at my bag, I think Rico looked at my bag, and it's sort of like, no, that's why I have the cheeses, an empty knife block. I think I had a knife and a razor in there.
Yes.
I hoarded everything. If I had gotten out of there as like a normal person, I'd be like, what is in there? Well, here's a German Bible because I thought it was neat. Here's some jerky, even though half of it's only been gnawed on by those dogs. I don't think it's pretty good. Here's this collectible cup. I mean, it's a plastic cup, but I want a memory, a memory of being in this base. I'm the worst type of role player because I'll hit, like, even in like games like Fallout, I'll hit like the weight limit very quickly. And I'll be like, well, crap, I'm at 300 pounds. Well, I can't get rid of this plate because I kind of want the novelty plate to hang on my base.
Yeah.
I'll just ditch this chain gun.
So
Who needs a chain?
because that's like 45 pounds worth
Yeah,
of other
come on,
knick-knack and
Yeah,
bric-a-brac
think of-
that I can bring with.
Think of how many Thunderbirds commemorative, decorative china plates you could carry for that.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
exactly.
and I'm only missing number 4. So, if I could find number 4,
That would be-
I'd hate to find number 4 later and then wish I got 1 through 5.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the and he's great for that. And I know he's got idiosyncratic behavior that I can, just ding, and it will resonate on its own. But like I said, there were several. Jade had several other items. Nobody was a plant, and that was going to be my question: was when you guys were doing. Was there any point in time, especially you, Jay, or John, but Jay, especially, did you think that one or the other or both were a plant?
Well, yeah, by the time it was over, I thought he was a plant, and I thought Jade was not because of how well.
But originally you thought, oh, well, here comes the girl up to the thing. She's the plant.
No, I was thinking it was probably Rico. Rico was going to murder us all.
No, I thought.
That's just sort of like how he do.
No, my thought going into it,
we do.
as the commander of the unit, I thought, okay, I'm going to approach this like I trust my guys, right?
Right,
I
right.
got to trust my guys. So I didn't let like my player kind of interrupt my trust of the characters, right?
Nice.
And then, here comes Una with her eyes sewn shut, telling us she could feel that we were bored from five floors away. That's why I'm like, I think I said, Sankowski, keep an eye on her. Mm-hmm. Didn't
Yep.
I tell you to keep an eye on her at the beginning?
Uh-huh. And it was funny because I giggled on the inside because I was like, that was the one person you should have avoided. If it would have been anyone else, this whole thing would have turned out much better.
Right. Yeah, so it was kind of like I figured something weird was up, obviously, with her, and something related to what would be happening was going to be related to her. So shooting her in the face right away never occurred to me because I was like, well, number one, that's going to ruin a lot of fun, I have a feeling. And
Poor
number two,
Jade.
there's no reason to shoot somebody in the face. I mean, she came down and let us out of our cells.
Right.
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 She's obviously helpful from the get-go.
So we need to at least take her with us until she becomes a danger or whatever.
Right.
So
She just wanted her sister back.
right. So I didn't think any of the guys were a plant. I figured there was some secret stuff going on between you and her to prep for playing Una. So I knew something would be happening weird and all of that. And what really smacked me in the mouth out of left field was when Zankowski started acting weird.
Well,
Because I was totally not expecting that.
Well, I mean, and that I think is something that, in a just general games perspective, if you are just going to be like, okay, we're going to move room to room, you know, like the SWAT team, and just shoot anything that moves, and not be willing to have any investment in, you know, acting like a normal person, pretending to
Like a
not
human
see
being?
the punch coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just play everything like you're you know, expecting to, you know, have, you know, the like tentacles jump out of anything at any time, then you're not going to have fun.
Yeah.
I mean, that I think is something that happens to a lot of players, where they are so used to being screwed over by their GM that they don't want to give any angle.
They don't want to give anything a chance.
Right.
Yeah.
And so so you get all these characters that have, you know, that have no, like, they have no contacts with NPCs. They have nothing they care about. They live
So there's no hooks the GM can use against you.
because
Right.
they're so used to having like NPCs. If the first time a GM like fridges an NPC that you care about, like, you know, which, you know, is comic book terminology, when you kill off an NPC that, or I'm sorry, a side character,
Specifically, someone who's like a love interest or like a family member, and you do it in such like a brutal way, just so you can make the point of, hey, your sister was brutally killed. Just that's where fridging is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It comes from Green Lantern, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, like that has led just so many characters to never. I mean, I know people who won't even take like a familiar on their wizard for fear that it gets, you know, smooshed, because they know that that's
And
what to
you
expect.
know what? I think it's weird. I've had conversations similar to this with other gamers, and it's like there's phases that you go through as a gamer. And I think that phase is like the late teens to late 20s phase. That's where, like, you start out learning the game and just kind of having fun. And then you get into that phase, like, you know, 18, 19 to maybe, let's say, 30 or so if you keep gaming, where you start getting into it to the point where you start looking for how to min-max everything.
Yep.
And how to minimize weaknesses by killing all the NPCs or not caring about them at all, blah, blah, blah. And I think somewhere in your mid-30s, or maybe 30, for me it was around the mid-30s, you stop caring about that stuff and you start doing it for the enjoyment of playing and for the story, and you let things happen even though you know they're going to be used against you because it's going to make a good story.
Exactly.
Right? And I like the fact that the games I play in, you know, with others, obviously, are all in that phase where they'll bring the NPC, even though they know that NPC is going to turn on them at some point.
Sure.
Right? Or they'll talk to this guy, even though he's the bad guy, but right now he's not doing bad, so they're going to interact with him.
Yeah.
Or, you know, things like that.
Right.
Or they'll do something more tragic or allow that opening to be there.
And I've seen that happen at different ages, and it can get kind of tragic when, you know, one group will be, you know, one person in the group will be like, okay, well, yeah, I'm ready to do that. My character wouldn't expect there to be traps right here, and so they will,
Walk right on through.
just walk right on through, and the rest of the group will jump on them like, oh my God, you're an idiot.
Well,
what are you
I was
doing?
playing in one game. It was a Pathfinder game, and this is my first time playing with that group. But they had all played with the GM before. And they're like, the guy's like, oh, you're investigating this camp, and there's a tent, and there's a chest there. And I was like, well, I'll go open up the chest. And the whole table goes, no! And I go, what? And they go, you've never played Bob's games before. And I'm like,
That
so?
that
And they're like,
chest is trapped.
that chest is trapped. They're always trapped. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah. And I go, not this one. And I opened it up, and of course it was trapped. But the point was, like, they knew to expect. They knew this guy's style, and they knew to expect that. And it was kind of, I said I was going to open it, so I'm not gonna. I hate the take backs in games.
Oh, okay, then I don't open it.
Oh, yeah. Well, never mind. Then I don't.
But at the
open
same
it.
time, it's also sort of like, that's kind of like a dickish move when it's sort of like, oh, his chests are always trapped. Really? Always? Always trapped?
I don't know if they were always trapped.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying it's sort of like this it's like a union thing where it's got to be like each trap or each chest must have a level 3 trap personally inspected by the trapsters.
Well, like when I GM mainly Pathfinder or Dungeons and Dragons, because this is where this thing happens. When you're dungeon crawling, back in the old days, there'd be traps everywhere for no reason.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, we have I'll have a death trap on my nightstand. That sounds great.
that seems
I'll just
realistic.
keep it in the other room.
But yeah, I mean, well, it's like, well, for one thing, there's this entire like out of game like player versus GM.
Yeah, and
nightmare.
I hate that. I hate that concept that a lot of players or really it's more GMs have this mentality of me versus them. And then players get that mentality back against the GMs. And that's, I think, what causes that middle area where players start looking for min-maxing opportunities and ways to not deal with people so they don't have to have things used against them. I think that's all because of this versus mentality that some people have. So I've always told my players, when you're dungeon crawling or going through a cave, there will be no traps. I tell you that now, unless I give you some sort of warning beforehand. Like, oh, we're going to go to that cave. Be careful. That was used by pirates, to store their treasure. Watch out for traps. And then the party goes there, and then they know to look out for traps. But if they're just randomly venturing around or going into the bad guy's castle, if I've made no mention of it whatsoever, there are no traps in that entire place. Because the last thing I want to do is have the party take a 5-foot step and then check for traps.
Right.
And then take a 5-foot step and check for traps.
Because the worst part is when they fail it, and then they just assume there's a trap there. And then as a GM, you're like, no, there's no trap there. Well, we have to find a way around this hallway. No, you can go down the hallway. It's the door at the end. We just ignored this wing altogether.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Yeah. So it's like for the sake of the game actually running, just don't trap your shit unless it makes sense.
Well, there should be some indication. Otherwise, I mean, it's actually something that I did in a D20 game that I ran a while back. There was basically like this massive dungeon with a little shanty town that had grown up above it, full of adventurers who were going down in to raid it. And it was a common ailment. They called it dungeon sickness, where you would start to do things like check the door to the inn for traps. And because it was like a stress-related
that is awesome.
illness that was common among the adventurers, and so they had to deal with it as a syndrome.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is fantastic.
I'm so stealing that.
Yeah. It's
Why
like,
are you doing
that?
They want you to come in. No. Stop.
I've
Why
been
are you
down
doing
to level
that?
8, man. I've seen a door to the inn down there. There were all kinds of beholders behind it.
Terrible. It's like, why are you doing that? Because, man, you never know. I've seen some stuff, man.
Seen some hairy shit,
You
man.
you can't trust each room. There's 10 by 10 rooms. You can't trust it. It's too uniform.
Right.
Look at this. Look at this. You see this? You see this inn right here? You know what this is? This is a 10-foot by 10-foot room with a 10-foot by 10-foot room right next to it. We're done. No, you check that door. That door gets checked.
It's like, am I supposed to believe that there's just a pie just sitting there?
Yeah.
Are you crazy?
Yeah. Are you insane?
Why would there be a fireplace in the middle of the inn? Most likely there's a pit in front of it.
Exactly.
The fire is definitely a disguised magman or something that is going to jump out and get
It's a mimic.
us.
It's a really good mimic. Because where would you stand to warm yourself? Directly in front of the
It's
fire.
a perfect place
Yeah.
for
Where
a
I would
pit.
trap.
No
That's where I put
doubt.
the trap.
It's a half red dragon mimic. That's where the fire is coming from.
Yeah. Duh.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotta watch out,
Ooh,
guys.
a half dragon mimic.
There was this long period in the early 2000s where it was like we called it the template of elemental evil because
Oh, yeah. Well, that was actually
everything
a
had
thing.
a template. No,
Yeah.
a template of
Oh,
elemental evil.
template of elemental.
Where it was just template madness. You
Oh, yeah.
put a template on every monster. Every,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I used to do that all the time as a GM just to quickly change the monster. Like in one of my games, was taking place like in a Nordic kind of environment, and everybody was like kind of Viking-ish to start with. So there was a couple of barbarians in the group, blah blah blah. And near their village, there was a river, pond, whatever. And during the night, when the dusk was coming, they had local legends of things called mist men that would hang around in the mist near the lake, and they would like kill
okay.
people and blah
I thought,
blah blah.
I thought they were just really bad with crossbows.
No.
That's the Mistmen.
No, with a T.
Oh,
Not
mi-
S.
Those are the worst mercenaries to hire.
Yeah. So, but what it
Or
was,
secretly the best.
what it was is I just took shadows and made them not undead,
right.
and they were mist men, and they did like minor damage in addition to draining strength.
Oh, nice.
And they were white instead of shadowy because they blend in with the mist.
yeah.
Nice.
So they're kind of cloud-like instead.
That
So
was one of the design
I-
choices for shadows I never really liked.
I like to take monsters that exist, just tweak them slightly, and name them something else.
like palette swapping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and
were you the one that would do the albino red dragon?
no, because that just seems like a GM just trying to screw with everybody.
Yeah, well, have you heard the story about the party that's walking through a storm and they keep getting hit by lightning, and it's like the DM has like a blue dragon with improved invisibility just strafing them all the time, and they're like, man, this GM is a jerk. We're just getting blasted by a storm.
No, because the albino, because then you get all your fire stuff and you roll up on it and you're just it just takes no damage.
Yeah.
Because it's a red dragon. It's
Yeah.
just an it's immune to fire. So whatever. No,
I
you're not
just-
one of those. Okay, good. That's good.
I just find a way to make it immune to, like a white dragon and somehow make it immune to, it's wearing a ring of fire resistance. Yeah.
Well, I
yeah,
mean,
it
you
is.
know.
Yeah, it is.
If it can afford one.
I do crap like that all the time.
To this day, one of the best tricks that was ever played on me as a player happened when I was in college. So we're playing a Sabbat game for Vampire the Masquerade, and just randomly, because it's a game where we're just being, we'd gone through a Camarier campaign of high political intrigue, so now we're going through a campaign of where we're killing people and
Hit it with a
shovel-heading
stick.
vampires. Yeah. So we're in college. That's kind of when you burn through those impulses. But no, so we all go to a vampire club, and we're supposed to capture members of the court because we want to Diablerize them. Because I don't know why. That was just sort of the thing we wanted to do.
That's
So-
its own goal.
Yeah, so we're
Right.
we're fighting vampires outside the club, and we're trying to stake them so we can take them back to our lair. Well, I stake mine. It takes me a little while to finally get it done because he's a heavy fighter, but eventually it's like, okay, you manage to make your checks, you get the stake right through the chest, and the vampire screams and flails about, and blood's going everywhere. And I immediately shifted back into my, actually, Todd, you see, when you're staked in the chest and it's successful, the vampire should go prone. That would only happen if they were, oh, he's alive, wasn't it? Yeah, you just staked some normal human who was just fighting you, and it's like, I thought there were only vampires in that club. No, there were people in that club. You found a guy dressed like a vampire. And it's true. I'd gone after a guy dressed in all black goth clothes, and instead I ended up fighting him in the parking lot so ineffectively at first. And eventually it's like, no, I stake you. It's like, I just committed murder here.
That's
Regular
awesome.
murder.
Regular murder, which is the line from Transylvania. It's like, well, does a stake through the heart kill? Who wouldn't that kill? Like, right. And we're done it. Werewolves, yes.
Yeah.
Humans, yes. It'll kill them all. If you can get that, then you're good.
That's the thing. That's the thing about weaknesses, right? It's like, the weakness for a vampire is a stake through the heart.
It's like the,
Well, isn't that a weakness for everything?
everybody.
for
I
a
mean, come
werewolf,
on.
it's silver bullets. It's like,
Pretty much everybody.
yeah, everybody gets has an allergy to bullets.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Bullets, my only weakness.
Bullets.
How did you know?
Don't hurt. Which is why when I put the group together, so you've got the army guys, you've got that trust. It's already inherently there. The little girl comes up and you're like, okay, well she's outside the bubble, but yet it's constructed in such a way is you want to bring her into the bubble. She's going to help you escape. She was helpful from the get go, so that's good.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Then everybody's like, well, we're a badass combat unit. So the first thing I'm going to do is give you food.
Right.
And there's nobody there. And you're like, what? And like, oh, well, now I've got a knife and a potato peeler. Oh, because we're badass. And we can kill people with this.
Okay, in our defense, we're gamers, so we instinctively go, we only do 1 to 2 points of damage with a bare fist. Oh man, but we have a knife that's 1d4 damage. That's almost double in some circumstances.
Well, no, but it would make sense. I mean, that's exactly what you would do, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You would seek some way to defend yourself.
And then you find guys, which is creepy the way you find them. And then you're like, oh, and the one dude in the shower, and you're like, oh, this is not going to go well. And you're like, oh, we've got guns. Ha-ha, we've got guns. What about bullets? And they're like, oh, and instinctively the gamers, like you said, they know, they're like, all right, and now we got guns and bullets. No, and bullet. And then they're like, oh, wait a minute. Why did they all have one bullet only? Wait a minute. What's going to happen? What's in the box? Yeah. And you have that what's in the box moment, and then the question becomes, do you spread the bullets around, or do you give them all to one
actually,
guy?
that was critique from my friend who was listening to it. He goes, why did you give the guy both bullets? Why didn't you spread those out? And I was like, he's the weapons guy, so it makes more sense for him to have the bullets. Plus, everybody else had knives, whatever. And he's like, oh, that was a bad move. Turned out to not really matter at the time, because when we got more bullets, we started spreading them around.
Right.
But yeah, he's like, no, you want 2 guns, each with one bullet, not 1 gun with 2 bullets. And I was like, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, unless you shoot the thing and it doesn't go down and you need to shoot it again. Right. Oh, crap.
And plus, at that point, I didn't know somebody was going to turn on us. Right?
Right.
So if going into it, I knew somebody would be a traitor, spread the bullets around. Right?
Because you don't want somebody with a handful of bullets.
Because if Rico was a traitor, we would have been in real trouble.
Oh, thanks for giving me 3 guys, 3 bullets. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's
Short
3 bullets in this
game.
gun. There's 3 of you. Let's do the math. Wait, what? Yeah. So I'm glad to see. So if we're going to write this up, and I believe that we should, one team member should go. It should be the turncoat, right? Mm-hmm. So what we would need is a write-up for the traitor to be able to mix and match, and everybody, shuffle it in. Everybody pick a card. Everybody pick another card. Okay, you guys are here. You get your write-ups, and now 3 of you picked blanks. 1 of you picked you're the traitor.
One of them pulls the Joker,
right,
or whatever,
right?
Or you could just assign it to a particular. Well, then no. If you assign it to a particular role, if it's always
the radio man,
the vehicle guy, or the radio guy,
well,
or
no,
something,
it should be.
Then you might not get it picked.
It seems to me like if no one had ever played this before, what happened would have been impossible without coaching.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. So I don't think it can be as simple as, oh, you pulled that card. Well, here's your special thing.
Sheet.
Yeah, I think it's more, honestly, for days after, I'm like, how did they pull that off? I'm like, they had to have, talked the night before or talked a week before and be like, hey, let's get together and talk about how you're going to screw over the party, right? That's what I was thinking the whole time. And then I find out that, no, he just played it before, so he knew that, the game you played initially, years ago or whatever, was there, something similar where someone acted weird? And
apart from me, no, really all the weirdness came from the girl, where the girl had in the first one she also manifested more mental powers.
Okay.
Yeah, she was walking through in the first one and opening doors with oh yes, and the door would open across
well,
the
you
room.
mentioned that Una was opening doors without touching them and stuff like that. So,
but the fact when she was like, no, they're not bad. You see this, you're just not looking with your eyes. And I'm like, I think I turned around because I had my gun facing towards the dog in the first game, and then she touched my arm, and I failed my check to get away from her. And then next thing you know, it's like whoosh. It's like, oh, that's a dog. Hey, why would I have my gun pointed at a dog?
Right.
And so I wasn't like, and I didn't betray them in the first one. I think I really was just more apathetic because it's like, okay, we're running, guys. It's a dog. Oh,
Sure.
The dog's gonna chase us, whatever. But and then actually, really, nothing really came of it other than just sort of like it's like I saw her as normal, and then everybody else was acting weird. But we didn't like pull knives on each other in the first game.
Well, and what ended up happening was she then, they were both copacetic, and then she was all and I'll touch you too because you need to be able to see. And people were like, nope, you're not touching me, nope. And they all kind of kept their distance.
Sure.
And they were like, no, thank you.
And to bring us all back to why we started this one, the big question, which I don't think you're going to answer, but I'll go ahead and ask it publicly.
Uh-huh.
What was really happening there? What was true and what was not? Like,
We're getting
were
all kinds
we-
of existential.
Were we the ones seeing things like the dogs, for example? Were they really monster dogs or were they actually regular dogs and our perception was messed up?
That I had not decided.
Okay.
Okay. I had not.
Ambiguous.
It could go either way.
It could go either way.
Because either I'm going to say us and them. Us,
Right.
Us meaning the team that saw things weird.
Right.
Either we were messed up in the head and seeing weird things, or they were messed up in seeing things normally that were messed up.
Right.
So,
Absolutely. So the team perception and
obviously the blood was the key because then he started seeing things
obviously
the same as Una saw them.
correct.
Yeah.
Now, so you what happened? Here's what happened. This extra-dimensional entity
Right.
made contact with this professor.
Durgost.
Yeah, Durgost. Okay, and one of the side effects, the only big side effect was that it would flip gravity in a localized region. So they began to build the sub-level basements to hold this thing. Well, within a proximity of this thing, gravity, so eventually you were walking up when it was actually down.
Right,
so
right.
everything was upside down. They then drew a bunch of its blood and started to test things like Una, like the dogs, like what was its... He ended up testing on his own children and saw that giving the blood to them in whatever form he did, whatever experiment he did,
Right.
not only heightened their perception, but their telekinetic powers, their ability. And so, yes. Oh, well, what happens when you give it to these dogs? What happens when you give it to humans? He experimented on his own kids and the dogs and the whole thing. The question then, so it's in the blood. The question then becomes, did they put it in your food? Did they, as opposed to injecting you with it, what if we take grown American men, American soldiers, and you ate it?
Right.
What if it was in a sauce or it was in something you had to eat? Or, okay, what are the effects? So at that point, I never really answered the question of, obviously, there are two different perception levels, and obviously she's been experimented on. But who saw what and what was real versus not? I never answered. We never really answered.
Yeah, another thing my friend pointed out, he found all this stuff. He listened to this whole thing like twice or something in a row, just to because he had we went to lunch and he actually had, I have a list of questions and pulled out the book. So he's like, okay, so you guys made it all the way to Durgost, and that's what he called it. He didn't say the alien, or he called it Durgost,
Durgost.
which I thought was awesome.
Nice.
You made it all the way there, and then you're leaving. You're heading back up.
Yes, because you're in the bait. You're at the
We
bottom.
realize it switced because we didn't listen to Sankowski like we should have the whole time.
You should have.
I know.
Sankowski was a hero.
I know, right? and didn't we also shoot you in the face? Yeah.
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
So
Yeah,
the point
right
is,
in the face.
so the point is, on our way back, we noticed that the soldiers are alive again, or at least up and walking around, but they're still not really paying attention to us. You said we walked into one place and they were there and all that, and we got to that one room with the giant door, and he goes, "You never looked for your vehicle specialist friend in that room. He could have been standing around there."
Oh, we could have rescued him.
And I was like, damn it, you're right. Because you said he was there and he was dead or something,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, he was laid out with the rest of them.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
You
that,
guys never went, where's Roger?
Yeah, we never walked in there and went,
Mike, where are you?
his
Mike?
undead ass can stay there.
well, but that's the thing. Again, perception.
Mm-hmm.
Is he undead? Because they pretty much ignored us. So
Was there
they messed
anything
up,
there at
or we
all?
messed up?
Yeah.
Or was there anything there at all?
Were we just so deep in our nonsense that we were liable to have a heart attack at the sight of just a bunch of bodies lying around?
Yeah. So
And we needed to be led through by the little girl who was not on that level of crazy.
So yeah, just basically, what actually was like to an outside observer, what did they actually see when we were there?
So you walk into the giant room and you stop and you start to tiptoe and it's just you four in the room. Like,
Yeah.
wait, what? Is it just an empty room where you guys, this is all in your head? It's a shared delusion.
like somebody looking from the outside, but they just see us tiptoeing around things that aren't there and sneaking and like dodging things and like, what the
Watch
hell are
out!
those
It's an evil
people doing?
dog! Oh no!
Yeah. So that was
That's
the big
a great
question.
question.
But
A slushy machine gets shot in front of me and splatters all over me. I go, it's sweet.
yeah, well, no,
So-
no, duh.
So another thing that I think went particularly well in your Halloween game, Scott, which is something that I've seen I've seen different gaming groups stumble with, is gamers are in general we're sort of a rebellious people by nature.
Rebellious.
And so like I find that having a military style game where there is like, I mean, it is sort of you never know if it's going to work out or not with like a command structure, a chain of command.
Yeah,
you don't know.
I
if,
was kind of worried that I was the commander. I was kind of worried that I was telling people what to do.
And then we were just eventually going to go, no, screw you, man.
Well, yeah, as gamers, you guys would be like, dude, come on, man, let us do stuff. And I'd be like, but I'm the commander, So like,
Right.
like early on, I'm like, Zinkowski, go do that. Burris, you go do that. And Tex, right? Tex was the other guy that's like, Tex, you do this, but not too close because you had sewage on you. And, all of that. And it's like, after a while, it's like we get up to the cafeteria level. I'm like, go check the kitchen, check the dead guy, check over there. And I'm thinking, sooner or later, these guys are going to turn around and just all go, screw you. Nope. But
Well, no,
because we wanted to role play being
I know.
army guys. And that's part of
but
the thing. So.
at some point, it's like, are we just your NPCs?
Well,
right? So I was kind of worried about that, but it turned out to work out pretty well. Plus, as the game went on, you can see that structure kind of broke down a little bit because
On its own, not even counting the Sankowski
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
talking like it was
just kind of everybody kind of knew what they should be doing anyway.
Well, and it was still a little strained, and everybody was like, "Well, yeah, we got to check this stuff, and you don't need to tell me, but I don't want to go there until you tell me." Can you?
Yeah.
Can
Well,
you
it
give me that?
does help the horror game a little bit to have that structure
yeah.
because it means that you have a reason to go in the scary room.
Right.
You have you have been given an order. You have to do this thing that you don't want to do.
Sure.
That's useful.
Yeah.
Now, I have seen other games which get around this, like Twilight 2000 was a good example, where they got around the idea of like different ranks and different chains of command by having the PCs be pretty much randomly assigned different ranks in different services or different nations' militaries entirely, which was interesting. Like,
Well, but I wanted to do two things. I wanted to give a semblance of structure out of the gate, a reason for you to be unit coherency.
Sure.
I mean, I wanted you to be.
Well, you don't have to go through that awkward thing that you do in some role-playing games where you have to get people together.
right,
And
right.
get
You're
them
already
all
together.
motivated.
Yeah, you're already motivated. You're a group. You're
Right.
the party, as opposed to one guy's the jock, and you got the cheerleader, and you got the nerd, and you got the
Yeah, why are these
none
people
of us,
hanging out?
Yeah, none of them are going to hang out together. Like, how's that going to happen? But I also wanted to hang that rope-a-dope around somebody. Like, who's going to be, when this shit goes down, who's to blame? Like, who wants to step up? We're going to go, well, if Sarge had said it then, now we wouldn't have all been face murdered.
Yeah. Yeah, no one was like, Other than Sankowski. No one was like, why did you shoot Sankowski? Or anything like that,
Right.
It's like,
Although if you think about it, if it was all in your heads, you did murder Sankowski.
I did.
You did murder
which is part of the
Sankowski.
reason why I want to know.
No, like, was this on purpose?
Was
What
this
did we do here?
real or
No, it's
not?
okay. Just let it keep you up at night.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you: was the facility just super advanced, or were we in there for an impossibly long time?
I thought about that too because of the key card and the swipes.
Yeah. So
And I was
there-
like, wait, that's not
That's-
World War II.
I
Yeah.
didn't think about that at all, actually.
Yeah, that's like technology that's at least like 30 years later. So that's when I started to think, well, we could be like undead or something and not know it, which would be an interesting spin on it to have the entire like the others twist, where it's like, well, yeah, we were test subjects and we've been here we're the zombie GIs with our zombie Nazis sitting for 30 years in the basement until something happens
But
and
we knew
get
that
out.
wasn't the case unless this was a
Unless.
lie as well. When we talked to the radio and the guy was like giving us the weird dates, but they weren't like real far in the future. They're just like, 6 months or whatever. We didn't know we were gone that long. Unless, of course, that was also Durgast and causing perception
we did
problems.
have Mr. Private Skinless tuning in Tokyo, so that's what you get.
Come
Yeah.
in, Tokyo.
Whoa. Okay, as a skinless American, I find that
I find that offensive that you just said that.
I got to transform just in time for you guys to blow my head off. And there's what two
As a
polls?
dermal deprived,
That was a
I must
two-poll.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's unfair. I was gonna
My
kill
favorite,
you.
my favorite thing is near the end of the game when we're trying to pull, and you're over there still talking even though you're dead, and you're like, "What was your favorite memory of Sankowski?" And he goes, was it when he was your friend and then you shot him in the face?" I lost.
That was
it.
like Portal level trash talking.
Just out of curiosity, how many family members do you think Sankowski had? More than two?
More than two, or more than two that loved him? What? Oh, no, I feel bad.
You know,
What?
You know what to get you through this? The power of friendship. The same power you use to murder your friend.
No, that was brilliant when you were doing the taunts like that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it was fantastic. Well, and so what I did, so I to answer the question, who had their perception? Was it all in your head? Was it all? I didn't answer those on purpose
Right.
because I didn't really. I wanted to bring in enough. Okay, I didn't expect you to get out of the Durgast's cage,
That's okay. Neither did we.
and you did, and then you were like, "Well, they go back to the main room," and I'm thinking, zombies? I mean, I was just like, where do we? Okay, they're all kind of shambling around, and they got to kind of make their way through.
Okay.
Maybe I don't know. At this point, I'm just throwing tropes at you.
Oh,
I'm
because
going-
you didn't have any clue.
Yeah, I'm like, I have no idea how the hell zombies. Okay,
That was good.
and it was, and so Mueller,
Yeah.
you sidestepped that shitstorm twice, and you were just like, all right, wait, hold on, stop. We let the water drain, and I'm like, oh, there could have been a shark in there. Oh, damn it! All right, well,
You're
going to
put a
in there.
shark in?
I was like, well, there's not a shark in there now. I don't know.
Shark with lasers strapped to its head.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Well, yeah, it's got to warm up its prey before it eats it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
duh.
it's not
and,
sanitary.
and then you were like, wait. We fan out just a bit. Where's Mueller? He's over there. We go the other way. Like, like you son
Well,
of a
yeah,
bitch.
we're going to avoid the conflict.
Some people don't. Some
Well, yeah.
The first game
Some
they
people
walked
are
up
like,
to
"Kill 'em
him,
all!"
tapped him on his shoulder, and they went, "So why are you wandering around taking things?" And it was,
and he was like,
right, and he went, and it was bad. It went horribly wrong, and they were like, "Oh shit, run, shoot him, kill it!" They wasted so many of their bullets on Mueller that it was not even funny.
Yeah.
That it was like, okay, well that was no good, So you guys rightfully so went around him twice, which made me go, "Ah," and at that point I was like, zombies, gravity,
or you could just have
I don't know.
have him appear behind you.
Yeah,
There's an option.
yeah, I could have.
But I mean, at that point, you know, it's sort of like there's only so many times you can pull that card, though,
Right.
Before it becomes, desensitizing.
Yeah, and so but that answer wasn't forthcoming, and I thought that there was and I want the feedback from the three of you. I thought that it was partially much creepier in my mind when you finally made it to the basement, and then you're like, well, we shoot the two dudes, bam, and I was like, okay, and we go upstairs and we go down the road. We just go. There's the road, and we start walking, and you were like, okay, go ahead. And it was, what was your take on that? Like, there wasn't, there's not a garrison, there's not a bunch of things. It's just like you guys wander off, roll credits.
Yeah.
Screw that noise. Like,
Yeah.
you will never be the same, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
and,
no,
and
that's
you
a good
guys
place
get to
to
go
end.
home.
And I know this isn't the same thing, but like a relative watched the movie Gravity,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and the movie ends with her. Well,
I haven't
spoilers.
seen it, so
Okay,
Yeah. How long's it been out? We don't care.
it's more than a year. So I'm,
All right.
I'm
5 years maybe. I
Yeah,
don't know.
don't worry
Moving
about
on.
Okay, well,
it. So she spins off into
She doesn't
space.
die.
I thought she spun off into space. There's
Oh,
no
no.
gravity.
Yeah, yeah. well,
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So at the end, she stands up on Earth, and
Ah.
music. Dun, dun, she's struggling to stand up. And then credits.
Oh,
And it's like,
that's
oh,
cool.
awesome, triumphant ending and all this. And as soon as the credits start rolling, she turns to me and goes, well, they need to make a second part. And I said, why?
Well,
to show how she gets home. And I'm like, she's on Earth.
Yeah.
she can breathe and everything.
She can find a plane. I'm sure she can call somebody.
Yeah, something.
They don't need to show her like
Get to her
wherever she
payphone.
landed. They don't need to show her finding a taxi.
But
getting
was
a,
it Earth after
Yeah,
all?
was it Earth after
If
all?
she gets chased by apes,
Yeah.
then
Yeah,
right.
it's still Earth. But
no,
I
it's
mean,
it's definitely Earth.
Yeah.
But it's
Right.
like they don't need to show
Right.
what happens after this.
Like you start walking down the road. Like
Yeah,
there were no,
that's
there was
the
no
perfect spot to
machine
end.
gun
The
nest. There was
premise.
no.
yeah,
You were
the
like,
premise is over.
like in
you're out.
Like in
You win.
in Gravity, you didn't need to see her walking down some trail and finding a village and
Right.
then roll credits. There's
Right.
no reason.
No, there's
just
no
show her
reason.
there. Yeah.
yeah,
Chased by wolves.
yeah, and I thought it had a very like. Okay, you're out and you're in the middle
Right.
of a field. Like there's a farmhouse and there's fields in all directions. And like you go to the main road and you start. You're like, well, there's an APC. No, we don't touch it. We just walk. We get the hell out of here. Okay, winning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crash into a ditch, immediately die a fiery death.
And that's because it would
Yeah,
have been.
because it would have been
make a poll.
Yeah.
and that one would have killed us. That would suck. You
like,
make it through all that crap,
No, that's
climb
when-
into the truck,
And it
crash
was
into a
rigged to
tree,
blow.
and die.
That's when Dr. Mueller pops up in the back seat and is like, dog. Splat.
Guten
See,
Tag.
that would have been the way they would end it nowadays.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah.
They make it to there and then credits. Really stupid jump
Because it would
scare.
have been.
Oh, you all die in a truck crash.
Well, I thought about rigging the APC where you just like, all right, we get in and the thing explodes.
Well, that'd be a good ending too. Everybody dying.
Or-
Yeah,
or-
that's always a good ending.
Or we drive through, we're confused and suddenly we're driving through an entire room full of Nazis with this big door.
Oh yeah.
Like the television show Voyager.
And then
Star
Sankowski's
Trek
alive
Voyager.
again.
It wasn't it wasn't great.
Right.
Had a couple good episodes,
Right.
but I thought the one thing they could do to make that show so much better, the final episode, Voyager should blow up and everybody should die. And I don't mean that as a joke.
Right?
How awesome
It would have been better
be?
than the ending they put up there. I mean, I don't mean to be that way.
I mean, how awesome would it be to have a Federation star? Here we are at Starbase Indy, right? A Federation starship, like
Yeah.
sacrifice itself to save whatever, and everybody dies.
Like what they could have done
yeah.
in the first episode.
yeah.
Well, sure. I'm talking at the end of the series.
I mean,
though.
they could have
10
saved
years
them-
later.
They could have saved so much pain and anguish if Well, yeah.
No,
Of
but I'm
course,
just saying-
you gotta watch out because people will fight you here.
Well, I'm just saying
They
there's
will.
there's a lack of heroic sacrifice in movies and TV shows.
Oh, yeah.
And it needs to happen more often, and especially like a meaningful one, not just like some throwaway character, like the red shirt died.
Right.
Well,
or
who cares?
like
Right.
it's some kind of sacrifice. I mean, it doesn't even have to be like a death. Like I was watching this very interesting. It was a very literary review. This vlogger, her name is Lindsay Ellis, and she's on YouTube. She does these very in-depth analysis of like Disney movies, among other things. And she was talking about the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Of Notre Dame, however you're supposed to say it in English, but and she was saying, well, I mean, first she went through like the entire like history of filmography of that property, starting with the 1930s, and how like the happy ending was actually something from that appears in a different production written by Victor Hugo himself, when he was like, well, this is kind of a downer.
Right.
And so for I think it was
that.
La Esmeralda, he like had everybody live, but she said like at the end of it, where the hunchback like is fine with the two with like Esmeralda and whatever the dude's name was, being a couple, like he sort of like puts their hands together, and she's like, it's fine, because like the hunchback doesn't have to get the girl, because that is his sacrifice to show that he is not like the main bad guy who's like has to possess her,
Right.
and that the fact that he is able to be like no, we're good, is actually very integral to the character, that and like shows a level of morality that the other guy doesn't have.
Right.
So that kind of sacrifice of like characters just not necessarily getting what they might otherwise want,
Sure.
but for the sake of something better that's more important to them, it would be worthwhile.
Yeah, I just think, if everybody in the Voyager died, and that ship blew up.
You go into the main hive, blow it up.
Or whatever.
So you destroyed the entire Borg nexus. That would be awesome.
the Borg are going to go through this gateway. Well, we can't let that happen. So they fly up and self-destruct,
Yep.
destroying the gateway, and, heroic sacrifice. And the best part about that is no one would know, right? It's completely
They'd be lost in
anonymous
space.
sacrifice.
Yeah.
And then there would be this legend that if they wanted to do another series later, they could refer, the Voyager, remember it disappeared, no one ever heard from them again, and blah, blah, blah. Something like that. Like, there should be more of that. Like,
Yeah.
you watch cop shows, cops don't retire. I mean,
Yeah.
Law and Order, they had people switch out, but, like, we used to watch SVU all the time. And very early on, they made it quite clear in the first few episodes, cops only serve in this unit for a couple of years because they can't handle the mental stress of, sexual-based crimes. And so people have to...
6 years later.
People have to get therapy. And no, it's like 15 years later, the same people are
Right.
still on the show. And you're
Right.
like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, so it's
Exactly.
like...
It's absolutely crazy.
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
But
So then I think that actually worked. Would you get your questions answered?
Yeah, I think so.
For the most part. We may
Yeah.
revisit when Jade gets here.
Maybe.
We'll go there.
Maybe.
All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to us. This has been Behind the Masks with for the Halloween game.
the Halloween game.
If you've got any other questions, if you need anything, drop us a line, Facebook us, Twitter us, whatever the case may be. And as always, you'll hear from us real soon. Bye.
Bye.
aloha.